Hi, this is Vega here. This is almost end of day one for the Affliction League for PoE, and this is the SRS life and minion damage scaling damage over time build. So Center of Radiance, SRS Ignite is how I'm scaling damage on this build. So far it's been pretty okay. It's cost me maybe about 15 chaos so far, all of which I've made through the campaign while doing the league mechanic. League mechanic does give quite a bit of chaos if you can do it. As you can tell, build is relatively tanky. I don't have cap block yet. I'll have to invest in that. But so far, it's able to do most of the... Well, most of the time it has not really much issues with the league content. League content is pretty profitable as well. It does shell out quite a bit of chaos, so I've made about 15 chaos or so since league start till now. I am a little bit over leveled, as you can tell, because I've been doing the league mechanic, so I've been doing it every time I see it on the map, on each instance. So yeah, I think if you do enough of it, you generally tend to level pretty fast. I should actually be pushing ahead into like maps now, but you know, still pretty keen on doing the league content in Axe. I'll clear this map and then show you a bit of the scaling mechanics and how this build does damage. It's gonna be pretty much the same as the event for shifting stones. I have a few minor improvements here and there because of the change in gems as well as the league mechanic. That's a dead end. That's kind of what I mean by the league content actually drops quite a bit of chaos. So as you do
something doesn't seem.
as you do like the league events, it empowers certain random mobs in your map. Those mobs have a higher chance of dropping stuff, kind of like Sentinel. There you go. More chaos. She's empowered. Ah, shit. Misclicked. Empowered. Twice empowered, actually. Nice. As you can tell, even with the bosses in power, it isn't too bad. The damage is good enough, and it's reasonably tanky enough that you can like run around. Because it's a DOT build as well, you don't really have to stay still. You can like cast, run around in circles, and you generally be fine. So let me just briefly run through the build. Oops, sorry, hit the microphone. Alright, let me briefly run through the build. I'll tell you where I saved money and what generally is going to cost you a bit more than average. Alright, so this is a falling spell. This is Summon Raging Spirits. It is set up for ignite damage and not for hits. As you can tell, I'm only summoning one Raging Spirit at a time. I don't have Unleash, and I do not have any way to increase the count of Raging Spirits. So I actually only have maximum one Raging Spirit out. Right, I can't have more than one. And the reason being for that is I'm using the Transfigured version. So this is the Summon Raging Spirit of Enormity. So maximum 6 Summon Raging Spirits only. And then I'm also stacking on Mark of the Red Covenant, which is a 75% reduced maximum number of Summon Raging Spirits. So it goes from 6 to 1.5. And because this game rounds down the value, it actually goes to 1. So I only have a maximum of 1 Summon Raging Spirits. You can actually increase this to about 3 if you have the Replica Midnight bargain. I might consider going that, but then again, it is an ignite build. I'm not so sure if I really need a maximum count of 3 Raging Spirits. So I think this is a pretty synergistic setup, and I'm quite happy with it, how it is so far. And most likely I want to continue with using something like this and maybe get a 6 link or 5 link and something like combustion or burning damage support to us. So far I'm using ignite proliferation support, minion life support, Infernal Legion, as well as Summon Raging Spirit of Enormity on my 4 link, and the rest are just I don't really have many links, right? And I'll explain why later. 1 is because I don't really want to think about it too much, and 2 it's because I do get bonuses from not having gems in my sockets. Alright, let's go into details. So this is a minion damage over time build, fire damage over time build to be precise. The Summon Sentinel Radiance is doing a fire damage over time AoE that is pretty massive. As you can see I've summoned it here, and its AoE is kind of like this. Really big. It's almost more than half of the screen, so it has pretty good clear, and pretty much you don't have to actually use Summon Raging Spirits doing maps when dealing with white mobs, but when you deal with like rare and magic packs, you're going to be summoning at least 1 Raging Spirit, well, you can only summon 1 anyway. It will run to the pack, blow it up, Ignite will prolift, and you should generally be able to clear it just like that. As you can tell, I don't really need to stop very often in and summon Raging Spirits as I'm moving through the map. So this is pretty clean and pretty fast gameplay, despite being a minion build and despite being a SRS build. So let me briefly talk about the rest of the gear pieces. For the chest, boots, gloves, rings, and shield, it's mostly just resistances and life. I'm not doing anything spectacular. So these are all really cheap gear. I picked them off the ground. You don't have to buy any of them, to be frank. So you can kind of skimp on a lot of the you can skimp on paying money for these. As of now, I'm kind of at cap for res, so that's not too bad. And my chaos res is at 26, which is not too bad as well. I've gone for attack speed on the weapon as well as attack speed on gloves, just for mobility's sake. I do not have faster attacks linked to Leap Slam yet, but eventually I will, and that will be even cleaner. If I'm going for 1, I will drop this entirely and do a shield charge setup. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. So let's talk about the other gems other than the falling for damage. You're gonna Determination, Leap Slam, Wave of Conviction, Frost Blink, Flammability, Convocation, and Malevolence. As you can tell, almost all this is for survivability and mobility, and damage is in the form of Wave of Conviction with Flammability and Malevolence. Convocation is just to pull your Sentinel or Radiance closer to you occasionally, so it can keep up because it moves really slowly. This helps your clear, and that's all there is to it. Let's talk about the uniques that you need to buy and generally how much it will cost you. first and foremost, you're going to buy a Mark of the Red Covenant. You can start using this at about level 29, I believe. This is relatively cheap. You can get it for less than a Chaos now. But at the time when I bought it, which was at League Start, this was 1 Chaos. Replica Siegebreaker is a bit expensive right now. It is 10 Chaos to 20, and so you're never going to find one that is relatively affordable. However, normal Siegebreaker works just about fine. It is not fire damage. You will not have the resistance. You will not have the benefit of having stuff like flammability and wave conviction strike resistances for you. But at the same time, Caustic Ground is, oh wow, lucky bugger. Alright, so Caustic Ground is not too bad. It still scales off minion life. It still scales off minion damage. So this is pretty good replacement. It is worth less than a Chaos or a Chaos compared to like the 10 or 20 Chaos that you pay for Replica Siegebreaker. So by all means, please go for this. It is extremely worth it. The other unique you're going to need is Tavukai. But in the early game, you can make do with just Infernal Legion. Infernal Legion alone is enough to help your Raging Spirits expire. It's not as clean, however. It can get a lot faster when you have a decent Tavukai. So what you want from Tavukai is you want negative chaos resistance on your minions. You want increase as high amount of increased damage and maximum life on your Summon Raging Spirits. This is a pretty much close to perfect roll, and I got it cheap. I kind of sniped this. This was like 4 or 5 chaos. I think it's 5, sorry. So that's not too bad. Pretty happy with this, getting this for 5 chaos. So yeah. And then you have Summon Raging Spirit of Enormity. This is for 1 to 3 chaos, depending on how much it has gone up. At that point in time when I bought it, it was about 2. But right now, it's about 1 to 3. I'm not too sure. Best I would suggest is you get this as early as possible. This is the first thing you want to pick up because yeah, you can start using it right off the bat at almost level 1, like not level 1, level 10 and below. Most of the time people sell it to you leveled, so you can get it 10 and below. Try to sell everything you can for this to get this and start with this. Reason being for that is you can actually go with an Ignite build without this. You don't need this anymore, because this has a 100% chance to crit. And because there's a 100% chance to crit, all its minion instability is going to cause it to ignite, right? So you don't need the Mark of the Red Covenant to ignite with this, so you can just start with this alone. Mark of the Red Covenant, of course, gives you quite a substantial amount of increased damage, about 60 to 70% more damage here. And as your Ignite, you don't really care about having minion count or spamming your minions, so this is perfectly fine. Alright, let's talk about skill tree. Pretty straightforward as well. Almost the same build as the event that I was playing. So you path all the way out here. You get the life nodes, minion damage, minion life, minion damage. You want to get this here for dexterity and strength, as well as chance to ignore stuns while casting, as well as Ores. So this is pretty OP nodes, give you quite a lot. You want life nodes as well for yourself, for your survivability. Minimum life, minion damage, you path through here. Life for yourself. Minion stability. Eldritch Battery is really good. You try to rush this as soon as possible. In fact, you path like here, and you just make a beeline straight for Eldritch Battery, because once you get Eldritch Battery and you have decent amount of energy shield, it is actually very clean to play. Right, you're gonna be able to have enough mana to do whatever you want to do. This is a very good way of just dealing with mana issues entirely. As you can tell, I don't have to need a mana flask. I don't need to reduce my mana cost of Summon Raging Spirits. I can just use the Eldritch Battery. Yeah, you want to path down here to get a large cluster. As usual, you want Feasting Fiends with Call to Slaughter. You're going to get it here as well, Feasting Fiends with Call to Slaughter. And the reason being for that is that you want to have 2 sockets, 2 medium clusters of minion life clusters. You generally want them to be 5 or 6 passives, and you want them to have increased effect and hopefully a resist. Right, as you can tell, I only have got 3 so far, 1, 2, 3, and this one's a 4 passive. 2 of them are 5s. It's because at League Start everything's expensive. On average, each large cluster costs me 1 chaos, and on average each medium cluster costs me 1 chaos. So generally, it's going to cost you 6 chaos here just to get your clusters, but it's still relatively cheap for the performance that you're getting. Alright, the path here. Okay, the masteries, you want Convocation, increase cooldown recovery rate. This is to have enough cooldown recovery to pull your Sentinel Radiance along with you with Convocation. Maximum life when there are no life modifiers on equipped body armor. I have no life modifiers here, so I get 15% life. Here 50 life is good as well as this mastery for area of effect for minions. So this area of effect affects your minion stability AoE. It also affects your Sentinel Radiance AoE, so it becomes even bigger. You have more coverage. You path here because these are very good damage nodes and minion life nodes combined. You get these because this is one of the best reservation cluster notables in the game. And then yes, you get your second cluster. Alright, let's talk about reservations. So for reservations, you have Determination, you have Malevolence, and you have Barkskin. Okay, Barkskin is really good because it pairs very well with Determination. And the amount of armor you're going to get without having an armor flask is almost 5k. So that's enough armor reduction for the entirety of your campaign, as long as you don't get hit very often. And how you get Barkskin is you're going to get Oath of the Magi first. So this is the Warden of the Magi Affliction, what's it called? Affliction Ascendancy Tree. First thing you want to get is this, because when you leave your gloves and your boots empty, you get 25% increased maximum life as well as 30% movement speed, which is pretty insane, right? So the mobility, you get a movement speed boot, you have 60 movement speed altogether. You get a flask that's 100 movement speed. That's a lot of mobility. All right, so you want to also path here and get Wildwood Blessing, and so you get Barkskin skill. So Barkskin skill is the thing I was telling you about here. This gives me quite a bit of armor, and also gives me less physical damage taken from attack hits, right? So you can also path here because I managed to unlock the quest and get the extra nodes. I've gone for this as well, Lessons of the Seasons. So this gives me some form of way to deal with ailments, since I don't really have a good way of dealing with it right now. So all in all, this is how the build works. As you can tell, all my flasks are literally just Quicksilver flask and Life flask. There's nothing special about them. Everything I picked off the ground. Alright, did I cover everything? I hope so. Well, that's all there is to day 1 of season, or rather League 3.23, League Affliction League. Hope this helps you. As I start to push into red maps, or rather into maps and then into red maps, hopefully the damage should be able to scale well. I think it will. I was quite surprised on how cheap Summon Raging Spirit of Enormity is. I was expecting it to be like more than 10 chaos, but it being like 1 to 3 chaos is like really affordable. So I ended up not even doing anything else other than Summon Raging Spirits and Ignite. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. There are ways to scale this build even further as I go into maps. Probably you can do a hit based setup, right? And you can completely do away with damage over time. You don't go Amamanus. You maybe get a Fleshcraft. No, you can't get a Fleshcrafter, right? Yeah, you can't get a Fleshcrafter because you need to scale the minion life. So you need to also go for like crit multi. So we'll see how it goes. I'll look at what's cost effective and I'll let you guys know. Alright, see you guys. See you probably on day 2 and day 3 as well. I might probably make separate videos for each day. Bye, I'm out. Oh yeah, POB is going to be in the description, so yeah.